Hello everyone. As all of you guys in this room already know, my name is Zaya Scott and I have gathered you here today so that I can present my capstone research project. My capstone research project talks a little bit about a leadership philosophy that I personally developed, and then I'm going to dwell on the 3 communication concepts that I believe best back my leadership philosophy. So my leadership philosophy, it centers on the idea that leadership is not defined by authority, but instead by the ability to influence, protect, and advocate for others through intentional communication. For the next few minutes, I'll be discussing the 3 communication concepts that shape this leadership philosophy. Those include emotional intelligence, transformational leadership communication, and conflict management. So each concept supports a different part of my leadership philosophy. Emotional intelligence, it focuses on emotional awareness and self-regulation. Transformational leadership communication focuses on things like creating direction, motivation, and a shared purpose. Finally, the last one, conflict management. This one focuses on addressing disagreements in a direct, fair, and productive way. Altogether, these concepts show how communication serves as the foundation for effective leadership. So once again, the first concept is emotional intelligence. According to Daniel Goleman's research in 1998, emotional intelligence involves self-awareness and self-regulation, and leaders need to recognize how their emotions affect their behavior, and then go on to manage these emotions before reacting. This is important because one emotional reaction can either calm a situation down or make things 100 times worse. Wallumbwa, an author who writes an article in 2008, connects this idea to authentic leadership, with research explaining that leaders build trust when their communication reflects their values consistently. For my leadership philosophy, emotional intelligence matters overall because leaders need to communicate with not only professionalism, but with that emotional control that comes with emotional intelligence. So the second concept surrounding my leadership philosophy is transformational leadership communication. Transformational leadership communication focuses on influencing people toward a common goal. This influence depends on communication heavily. Bass and Riggio in 2006 explain in their research that transformational leaders motivate people by communicating their expectations clearly and connecting those individual responsibilities to a larger purpose. This matters because people need to understand the message, but also need to know how to apply it. De Vries, another author, and his colleagues in 2010 found that a leader's communication style actually directly affects trust, engagement, and leadership effectiveness. Within my leadership philosophy, transformational leadership communication creates clarity, accountability, and a shared purpose. So the third and final concept surrounding my leadership philosophy is conflict management. Conflict is clearly unavoidable as people have different perspectives, priorities, and expectations in their lives. An author by the name of Thomas in 1992 explains in his research that conflict often arises when one's respect, fairness, or recognition is affected. Another author, Deidre, found that unmanaged conflict negatively affects things like team performance and professional relationships. This is why leaders cannot avoid conflict, as effective conflict management requires leaders to focus on solutions instead of blame. For my leadership philosophy, conflict management connects strongly to advocacy, because leaders have a responsibility to address tension and confusion directly, not to win, but to create clarity. So to conclude my leadership philosophy, it's rooted in the belief that leadership is practiced through communication. Emotional intelligence helps leaders remain self-aware and grounded, while transformational leadership communication creates direction and shared purpose. Finally, conflict management helps leaders address those challenges without damaging their professionalism or their trust that they have with others. So altogether, these three concepts, they support a leadership philosophy centered on advocacy, accountability, and fairness. And is also rooted in, once again, that intentional communication that you have with others. Leadership is not simply about authority or position, but instead through the way that leaders communicate with others each day. Thank you guys for listening to my leadership philosophy, and if you have any questions, just let me know.